So I don't know about you guys, but you probably noticed that World of Warcraft has very suddenly become extremely busy. And if you look at the stats, it is fairly obvious that a huge bunch of people have returned to the game in the Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch. This is also very evident by the amount of boosted characters running around with really crap green gear, but then with like a huge big brutal greatsword. And for those people who have returned to play Wrath of the Lich King who are looking to level up really fast, and for the Wrath of the Lich King launch, you want to get yourself the best leveling guide, Rested XP, which is a guide that's been made by the world record holding speed levelers in the game. In fact, they have recently just gained world records for leveling to level 70 on fresh servers. Be sure to check that out in the description, but anyway, let's move on. Now, I've been doing pugs all week. It is so easy to get a pug group right now for any raid that you want in TBC. But the problem is, there's a 50-50 chance that people are going to totally mess up the mechanics, because there's so many new people who don't even know the mechanics who are returning to the game. And this is obviously great. The game is thriving, it's getting more and more popular, but it does present a very serious problem. The problem is, very simply, that Blizzard have not invested enough time or money for an infrastructure to support the increased traffic of players. Let me tell you about some of the very bad issues that people are having, beside the insanely long server queues that people are getting, up until like 8 hours long. It's actually just a little bit worse than that, because when you do actually manage to log into the server, for many people on certain servers, like for instance Firemore on EU, you can barely play the game. It's taking up to 4 minutes for you to be able to loot something, and then for it to finally appear in your inventory. Blizzard have actually recommended for people on Firemore not to do any raids because the loot might bug out and you may not get any loot at all. That the situation is literally that horrendous. And there's a 50-50 chance when you accept a quest or pick any dialogue option on an NPC that you'd get totally disconnected, and there's a lot of general disconnect issues happening quite frequently. I've also heard that on the US realms there was such an issue with the zombie event that it actually had to be disabled on some of the realms. Now this has provoked a very spicy post from a community council member, someone who has a lot of experience of the software engineering field, especially when it comes to servers. In fact, many people within the community have contributed to this post. It's absolutely popping off. I will leave it in the description if you want to read through it in a lot of detail, but I will give you the TLDR. Blizzard have come up with this excuse that they simply don't have the technology right now to fix the current issues. They don't have the server infrastructure to support the amount of players who are playing on the servers, which is a fairly obvious lie. Since they fixed issues like this on retail with a number of different mechanical changes to the servers to combat the issues. And if you remember the Burning Crusade Classic launch, where the entire server was basically compacted onto one realm, Hellfire Peninsula, well, the TBC Classic launch was like very smooth. It was like smooth as butter despite the high volume of players playing on the servers. There's a number of ways that Blizzard could fix the server issues. Here's actually one very big clue that, for something Blizzard can do. Actually do something, because at the minute they're not doing anything. Doing something might actually help, strangely enough. As I have said before, Realms are a very archaic MMO design choice in my opinion. No more up-to-date MMOs use different designs like mass servers. But if you're going to do servers, then they need a lot of attention and tender loving care for them to work. They need to be constantly monitored. And this just supports the general consenting feeling in the Classic WoW community that Classic WoW is very simply a side hustle cash cow for Blizzard. To be fair, I think Blizzard are probably surprised at how much money that Classic WoW is making them, because they're still delusional enough to think that they've made improvements to the game over the years since the release of Classic and Vanilla, and they haven't made it any worse. It probably makes no sense to them why people would want to play the older version of the game. Here's a clue: it's better. And you have to think about it from a pure financial standpoint. They're not going to invest as much effort into Classic because it simply doesn't make as much money as retail does, because it doesn't have a cash shop. And you don't have to buy the expansion. It's essentially a free package that you get included when you are currently already playing retail. Why invest money into fixing something that is already making you loads of money when you could invest money into something that can make you much more money, like developing content for Dragonblight, because that's a purchasable expansion that people will have to buy, or maybe another store mount. That's what Blizzard are going to invest their time and their money and resources, because it will return more profit. Fixing Classic WoW, well, people are so desperate to play Classic WoW that it doesn't really matter whether they fix the server issues or not, people are still going to play it anyway. And that very simply is the brutal, cold, hard truth of our situation as Classic WoW players. I'm just going to leave it on that fairly dark note. You know what might cheer you up though? Your own personal spaceship, and I absolutely guarantee you that if you subscribe to this channel, you will find one on your doorstep tomorrow morning. Anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. Until my next video, ciao.